Hello, this is Vlad Katkov with Dundas. Today, I'll be using Dundas BI to go through the Gartner Modern BI Bake-Off Challenge and demonstrate what our software can do. This challenge is designed to help buyers evaluate different BI tools by pitting them against one another using a list of predefined criteria and a supplied dataset, which should result in a true apples-to-apples comparison. Please note that each requirement for this demo will be shown within its allotted time frame. Dundas is celebrating 25 years of creating innovative products in the data visualization and BI space. Our product line has evolved substantially, but our motto continues to be, make 80% of use cases easy and all the rest possible. This is very evident in Dundas BI, where common use cases are available out of the box, yet our fully open APIs can be leveraged to extend and customize the end user experience. Dundas BI is a modern BI platform that's entirely web-based, built on HTML5, and targets different users' needs and skill sets within an organization. For example, analysts can explore their data directly from the source, whereas BI professionals may start by preparing a data model and then building reports on top of it. Dundas BI is truly an end-to-end BI platform with rich functionality for all user types. Because the application is web-based, the experience is consistent across different operating systems and devices. Our administration layer is easily accessible through the browser and allows complete control of user security settings and configuration, things that are crucial for the maintenance of an enterprise deployment. Lastly, to highlight the flexibility of the platform, we have open APIs on the front end, back end, and for integration and embedding. The advantage of Dundas BI is that it combines the best of both traditional IT-led applications designed for enterprise-level deployments with modern data discovery tools designed with a greater focus on ease of use. Our single platform provides the ability to run complex data preparation processes as well as perform quick data discovery and then to share those findings via scheduled, alert-based, or burst reporting. Dundas BI is unique in offering immense flexibility and so many capabilities that typically require multiple tools. Now let's begin the bake-off exercises. I will log into my system as a standard user and will be automatically redirected to a dashboard that we have prepared. At the top is a toolbar, and I'll simply go into full screen mode to focus only on the sample, which was created to answer the business question, what is the leading cause of traffic fatalities and is it different by age or state? This is in fact based on real data sets. Let's start by analyzing the two maps we have in the top left corner of the screen. The leftmost one indicates the number of accidents by state in 2015, and the one on the right focuses only on accidents that were caused by distractions. Darker, more vibrant colors do indicate a greater number of accidents as explained by the legends. A very interesting way to examine this information is when it's combined on a single map, and we've added an interaction that allows the user to switch the view, which places symbols on top of each state. The larger the symbol, the more distractions, and the darker the color, the more accidents overall. This lets us determine outliers in the data quite easily. For instance, Georgia has many accidents but relatively few that are caused by distractions, whereas drivers in Washington state have a high chance of being distracted if in an accident, about 30%. If I switch back to my side-by-side view, I can focus in on Washington state and display all the accidents grouped by county. Using my slider, I'm able to narrow down the range as well, and I can determine that only 3 counties have had accidents that numbered 50 or more. If I now click on the state, you'll notice that all the other visualizations on my dashboard are filtered by that selection. Referencing the crosstab on the bottom, we can see detailed statistics over the years and can conclude that Washington state has made significant advancements in curbing drunk driving, even though the overall number of accidents continues to grow. On the other hand, Wyoming has a high percentage of reported accidents that did involve drinking. Lastly, we can take a look at the bar chart in the bottom right of the screen, which groups the accidents by gender. Clicking on a bar drills down into a quarterly view of the data, and selecting a quarter goes further down into the months. Using the right-click context menu, I can drill back up and even change the level at which my data is displayed. With this, I'll conclude the end user experience, and let's see how we can work with the sample dataset in Dundas BI. I've now logged into the system as a user with total access to all the layers of the application. The first step to working with data is to establish a connection to it. Gartner provided several Excel files which I've placed into a folder on my network, and as per the instructions, the first step is to union them together. Dundas BI has a special feature that will automatically recognize multiple flat files as a single one. I'll start by creating a new data connector and choose Microsoft Excel from the drop-down. Now I simply have to paste the path to the file. Notice the star, which is a wildcard, and will automatically pick up all files that begin with the name accident. The last step is to give my data connector a name and hit submit at the bottom. Dundas BI automatically performs its own data discovery on the file. Now I'll create a data model which we call a data cube in our system. On the right side of my screen I have a data connectors folder which lists all the data connections that I've established. I simply pick the one I want and drag it out onto my designer. I've performed these exact same steps with the vehicle Excel files ahead of time, and now I can very simply join these two files together. Now if you take a look at the top of my tree structure, I'm currently working in my own private repository. We went ahead and set up the other data cubes in another project in the system. I'll open up the data model we used to calculate the states. There's always going to be multiple ways of working with data, and in our case we wanted to highlight some of the functionality of our data cube. It's possible to insert many different transforms and configure them right from the UI. However, if the need arises, the data cube is also flexible enough to accept custom logic that the user may want to introduce into the data cube. Lastly, by clicking on any one of these transforms, I can preview my data. This allows me to step through the workflow and really see exactly what's going on at each and every single step. Another requirement was to group the ages into certain buckets. We went ahead and created a custom hierarchy in the system which we then applied to this specific data model. The result of this is that out on the dashboard, I can select a certain bucket to view my data for. We also blended some of the data we were provided with an external data set containing the population of each state during these 3 years. The result is the ability to display a table with normalized values for the number of accidents that were caused. With my data sets prepared, I can now start building visualizations. I'll click on the Explore Data button, which takes you to our metric set designer, which allows you to focus on one set of business requirements and construct a visualization. From the Explore menu on the right side of the screen, I'll open up my Accidents and Vehicles data model. Here the data is grouped as measures and dimensions, and I can just drag and drop the columns that I'm interested in visualizing. State case is a unique identifier for every accident. In my case, I'll in fact use it as a measure, and then Dundas BI will automatically count the value. I'll also add a slicer to my visualization, and from the Re-Visualize menu option at the top, I will select a relationship diagram. Now this might look similar to one of the visualizations that was out on my first dashboard, the only difference being that that one was filtered to only display the top 5 values. Now that looks more like it, and I can zoom in a little bit in order to see my data. In Dundas BI, the user has complete control over all types of visualization bindings. There's also an extensive properties panel on the right side of my screen where I can play around with the look, layout, and feel of the visualization, but for the sake of time, let's say I'm finished. Using the option in the top left of my toolbar, I will take my visualization and introduce it to a brand new dashboard. The dashboard designer is the correct place to combine different visualizations on a single screen, and once again I have total control over how large and where my visualizations go. From the metric sets folder, I'll simply go ahead and take the cross tab that I've created ahead of time. This is an example of reusing other users' work. Now the dashboard designer is flexible enough to allow new analysis right on this screen. If I go back to my data cube, I'll drag on the date, gender, and add a count value. I'll use the Revisualize menu option to change this to a bar. I'll just resize my canvas a little bit to better accommodate the crosstab and my different visualizations. From the filter menu option in the toolbar, I'll introduce a member filter. The panel that appears allows me to hook up my filter to as many or as few visualizations as I'd like. In my case, I'll select the sex. Let's position the filter up at the top, and now I can view my dashboard. My dashboard is instantly interactive, meaning I can play around with the relationship diagram, right-click to drill up and drill down on my chart, and so on. The filter at the top allows me to select the gender, and both my two visualizations will be affected. The Bake-Off Challenge now asks us to export the dashboard and send it over to a state governor, which we're more than happy to do. Using the Share option in my toolbar, I'm able to select an export format. Out of the box, we support image, PDF, Excel, PowerPoint, and also CSV. As an example, I can select Excel, now make a selection whether I want to export the entire dashboard or perhaps just one particular visualization. I'll now generate the file and open it up. We can also automatically send reports based on a schedule or trigger. We refer to these as notifications. Notifications can be used to export a dashboard or report straight to someone's email inbox. No login is required to view those files. The scheduled notification works off of a schedule of your choosing and can even send separate reports to different users, which filters their data automatically. This is known as report bursting. Alternatively, a user can set up a data-driven notification. This will tell the system to monitor one specific data point in the system. Based on the value crossing a threshold or a pattern occurring with the data, Dundas BI will trigger an alert to be sent out. Security is always a big concern, and Dundas BI makes it very easy to control user, content, and data level access. Much of this happens in the admin section. From this view, an administrator can see all the files and projects and control access to them, but there's also a section that lets me see the user accounts and what we call custom attributes. An attribute is much like a variable which can be set and then used to filter data. If I navigate to my current user, I'm able to edit and define the custom attributes the user has. In my case, the state security custom attribute is in fact being fed from one of the data models that we created. Here I can go ahead and select a particular state that my user should have access to. Multiple values can also be selected if the custom attribute supports it. I now just need to log off and log back in again for the change to apply. I'll open up a simple sample dashboard that we've created to demonstrate. Although this data model is pulling the entire data set, the custom attribute limits what I can see. To further prove this point, I can log off, log on as another user we've set up in the system, and you can see this is the same dashboard but with a different custom attribute value. As an analyst, I don't always know all the relationships in my data and how to best visualize it. Dundas BI will now in fact recommend visualizations to use based on the data that you provide to it. For example, when I add a count measure to my table, it visualizes it as a data bar rather than the actual number. I'll finish up my analysis very quickly. Let's add a filter. And perhaps filter our information by Washington. Now let's say that I've received updated information, or perhaps a new report that invalidates some of my current data. I'll revisualize this back to a table, and with Dundas BI, users now have the ability to right-click on a data point and select correct value. This makes it very easy to fix mistakes and small errors without having to go back to IT. Note there is a record that is left that indicates the user and when the value was changed. Now, using the Revisualize menu, I'll change this to one of the recommended options, which is a tree map. My tree map looks a little bit bland right now, so by adding in another count, Dundas BI will automatically use it to color the values. I'll finish this up by once again going to the Revisualize menu, but this time I'll use a fairly interesting Sankey diagram. This is a very interesting diagram that makes it very clear majority of accidents in Washington do happen on clear days. Thank you very much for watching our 2017 Gartner BI Bake-Off video. I hope I was able to convey some of the functionality that's available in our application. If you have any other questions, feel free to visit us at dundas.com or send us an email at info@dundas.com and we'll be happy to help you out.